Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday's devotion from Hope Church. It's great to be with you from my office again this morning. I want to just start by saying something that we probably all agree with, and that is that we live in a consumerist society. We live in a consumerist society. And one of the downsides, I think, of that is that we easily discard things. We throw things away in our world so readily and so easily. If something gets broken, something we don't need anymore, we put it in the bin, or we burn it, or we throw it onto the rubbish heap. Sadly, we don't just do that with things, we do that with relationships. And we live in a world where I think part of our brokenness is that we don't work at relationships. We throw even relationships away so readily and so easily. Michelle and I, over the last few weeks, have been watching a television programme on a Tuesday evening, and it's called The Repair Shop. The Repair Shop is basically a beautiful thatched barn in the lovely English countryside that has been turned into a workshop, and inside that workshop are expert craftsmen and tradesmen who are brilliant at their trade. And different people come into their workshop with things that have been broken, things that have just been left in lofts, or just left for years and years and years. And these master craftsmen and master tradesmen, they get hold of them and they restore them back to their original purpose, and they make them fit for use. One of the examples this week was a lady in her mid to late 50s. Her mother had died in the last year. And as a young girl, she remembered her mother playing a particular vinyl record on an old record player that was made in the 1940s, 1950s. And she brought this record player into this repair shop, and she gave it to these master tradesmen, these craftsmen. And over the course of the programme, these guys lovingly restored this old record player back to its original purpose. It was amazing what they did to it. And they found the original vinyl record that the mother used to love listening to. And so at the end of the programme, this woman walks back in and she stands in front of this bench, and these tradesmen are standing behind it, and they uncover the restored record player. They plug it in and they put the vinyl record onto the turntable, and they play it. And you saw the face of this daughter, this woman in her mid to late 50s. You see her face, and she actually begins to cry. And she cries because she is so overwhelmed that these men had taken the time to restore something back to its original purpose. And it just brought back so many beautiful memories of what that record player first meant to her when she used to listen to that with her mother many years before. I loved it. It was a really beautiful moment. There's this great little phrase in the Bible, Psalm 23, one of the most famous psalms, and it says this: "He restores my soul. He restores my soul." That phrase in Psalm 23 verse 3 comes from two Hebrew words, and the first Hebrew word, or the word for soul there, is literally myself, or my being, my life, or my person. That's literally what that word means. And the second Hebrew word for the word restore there is to turn back to its original purpose. And so when David writes in Psalm 23 and he says, the Lord is my shepherd, he leads me by quiet waters, he restores my soul. What God does is that he takes my person, my being, my life, and he returns it back, or he restores it back to its original purpose. He breathes new life into us. He creates something new out of the brokenness of our lives. Maybe today you have felt discarded by someone, or you felt discarded by life in your past. Maybe you have discarded others perhaps as well. But the beautiful thing about this phrase in Psalm 23 is that God is a master craftsman. And there are two things that really I've just picked up from just mulling over that verse this week, and that's this. God never discards us. He never throws us out onto the rubbish tip. He never just offloads us as if we are nothing. He never discards us. That's the first thing. And secondly, he lovingly restores us. That's always his heart. God's heart is always about being restorative. God's heart is always about restoration. God restores. And this morning, as we just focus on that maybe for a few moments, let's remember that God is like that master craftsman who with compassion takes our broken lives, our dismantled lives, our weathered lives, and he lovingly restores us. He turns us back for purpose. He aligns our lives with his word. He breathes his Holy Spirit into us, and he makes all things new. So if you feel broken in any way this morning, or you feel that your life has been discarded in any area, when we give our lives into the hands of God, this is what he does. Number one, he doesn't discard us. And secondly, he lovingly restores us. And he makes us fit for purpose. That doesn't matter what background we have, what race or culture we come from, what our sexual orientation has been, whether we've come from wealth or poverty, whether we've come from a high academic background, or we just feel like we're just an ordinary learner. Do you know what? God's heart is the same for every single person. He never discards us, and he lovingly restores us. Why don't you read Psalm 23 today? And when you get to verse 3, Psalm 23 verse 3, where it says, he restores my soul, just remember that God always lovingly restores us. He never discards us, and he wants to bring us back to our original design so that we can live for him and his glory. What a thing that is. That's amazing, isn't it? And I thank God that he's done that in my life too, and he wants to do that in every person's life that we meet. So bless you today. It's great to be able to just share a few thoughts with you, and hopefully we'll see you online with us on Sunday morning. Take care and have a great weekend, and enjoy the warmer weather. Bless you. Bye-bye.